Okay, so Teresa, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I'm very interested in the responses you're going to give to the questions and the discussion that we're going to have.
Me too.
I thought what I'd do is begin by asking you to talk about Durham region. A lot of the people who are watching this won't know much about it. So
Okay.
if you could just describe Durham, the communities inside it, and maybe a little bit about the local economy.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I have moved here 20 years ago myself, and I was like, this is a sleepy little place where I've moved to. 20 years ago, when I came here, there was like one sushi restaurant, maybe one Jamaican jerk restaurant, and it was very much a bedroom community because we are right on the east of Toronto. So we butt right up to Scarborough. And it's a big region. It's over 1,000 square kilometers. It's from Pickering all the way over to Newtonville or the Clarington, like the municipality of Clarington. Not that all these names will mean that much to people who are watching, but it is a big region. It's 8 municipalities, which I think is very similar to the Waterloo region. It's 8 municipalities. It goes from east to west 1 hour, from north to south 1 hour. We go right up to Lake Simcoe, so which is where Barrie and cottage country starts. So it's a big region. A lot of it, so the north of it is mostly agricultural land, and then the south is mostly like urban and a little bit of suburbs. Well, lots of suburbs, in fact. So 42% of our population has commuted outside of Durham region for jobs. So we are very dependent on the money that people earn from, leaving Durham region and going to down on the GO train, going, where driving to Markham, using the 407 and all that sort of stuff. So very much a bedroom community with suburbs. A lot of families live here. So like for me, when I moved here as a younger person, like there wasn't a lot to do. So there's pubs, and then the restaurants were kind of boring. And then there was a lot of stuff with kids to do. And so a lot of sports, like family things as well. So I think that's starting to change, particularly, and I will say even before the pandemic, is it's changing because more and more people are moving from somewhere else. Our land values have always been really advantageous. So we always like to say that Durham region's been like the last area of the GTA to grow. There's still a lot of land. The value of buying houses here is still cheaper. I mean, it's gone absolutely stir crazy in the last 3 years, I would say. Like my house has tripled in value since I've bought this house 9 years ago. So, that is being pushed up by people that are moving here from other places of the GTA. Just think about it. If you lived in Brampton, your townhouse was 800,000. Well, here you can move out and get, 2-car garage, a 3,000 square foot house detached for the same amount of money. So I guess that's drawn a lot of people to us, which I love because now there's opportunities for the businesses and the people that live here. The new people moving here have a need for services and culture and food, and so I see there's a lot of opportunity for Durham region. So again, as I mentioned, it's often been very agricultural, small businesses. Like our business base is quite small compared to like Kitchener-Waterloo, a real tech capital, right? If you think of any of the other regions, you think of Mississauga, it's got the airport. So Peel's got an airport and lots of industry. Durham region does not have that. So where Mississauga or the municipality of Peel has like 80,000 businesses that they can register, we have 15,000. So again, big difference in terms of like that economic base.
Very interesting, and we're going to talk more about
Sure.
how the community has been changing. But I thought also that you should tell the students about your job now. You're the executive director of the Business Advisory Centre Durham. So if you could tell people what the centre does and what
Yes.
your job is.
Sure. My role is pretty much the CEO. So, an executive director is the title that they give to not for profit leaders. It's changing, it's slowly changing over to CEO, but I am in charge of the entire organization. I do report to a board of directors that are a volunteer, and they hire me, they help me with and approve, like setting the budget, setting the business plan, the strategic plan, but I'm responsible for the operations of the organization. So I have 6 staff members working for me. Last year, because of different projects, I had up to 22 people working. And so, I'm responsible for onboarding them, for setting the culture, the tone, for getting the work done, the work plans, the technology, the whole lot. So we're a small but mighty not-for-profit, right? And the Business Advisory Centre Durham is a small business centre. So we're one of 54 centres in Ontario. In Kitchener, you have the Waterloo Small Business Centre, you have St. Catharines. So we have 54 of them in Ontario. So we're often the first place to go if you're thinking of starting a business or you're wanting to grow your business. We're funded by the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. And in our respective areas, we're either funded by the municipality, we're funded by the region. So here in Durham, I'm funded by the region of Durham. So their core funding allows us to deliver business advisory services. So helping businesses and people kind of decide and get the skills, the knowledge, or the tools to start their own business. We also run entrepreneurial programs. There's a youth entrepreneurship program called Summer Company, which is for students who are turning to school age 15 to 29. So we run that across Ontario, and it's called Summer Company. So it's you run your business during the summer months. We also run Start a Company Plus, which is for more businesses that are at least a year in operation. We have hundreds of events. So as a network, we run over 3,000 events a year. We see over 10,000 entrepreneurs and people who want to start businesses and want to grow their businesses. So we're a very strong part of like the economic development part. So economic development is like, it's creating wealth and healthy and vibrant communities wherever you are, right? So that's the economic development cycle, and entrepreneurship happens to be one part of that. And so that's where we fit in to economic development, is that we are that one part. And I'm sure Peter and I will talk about it later, but it's the part that's becoming really important and really growing. And, you know, for many forces and many reasons, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, and there may well be people watching this who are thinking about starting their own company, and maybe some of them will want to do it in Durham, and they'll come and visit you. I also am keen to understand the type of city or type of area or region that you think is a good place to live. And the reason I'm asking that is that your role is to support the development of the local economy.
Yeah.
But more broadly, the purpose of that local economy is to make Durham a good place to live. And so I'm keen to understand what you would see as a good place to live and the contribution economic development makes to that.
Right. And I was actually pondering this question, and I thought, like, I think it's like, what does it matter, right? Where you live, as to like, why choose Durham? Why choose this? I think it's in the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it's whether that person says, this is an area where I want to live. So for many people, it's like they want to be close to their family, or they need to be near to their jobs, or the house prices are the right price. So I think there's many reasons why people move to a region, and it's not off. Like you and I get, like for me, I moved here because I met my husband on a blind date, and he lived out here and he had a child, and so I had to move here. I didn't necessarily want to, but I did. And there's lots of stories like that. But if I look at Durham region, like for me, I've decided I want to stay. Like I've always thought I'm kind of like an immigrant to this area, and maybe I'd want to move somewhere else. Maybe I'd want to move back to Toronto, where, you know, when I first moved to Canada, I lived and started a startup. But then I start to think about, I know the area, traffic is good. There's green space. You can get out. I'm close to the lake. My house is, I have space in my house. I have space in my neighborhood. So it comes to like, what's important to each person, I guess, and then other things like for us, we're 45 minutes away from Toronto if we want to access any of Toronto's services. We are close to the airport if we want to travel. Traveling around this area is easier. So I guess the infrastructure is really important. The cost of land is important. What's interesting about Durham region is that we have the most expensive property taxes in the whole of Canada, I believe, right? So as good as that, like to live out here is not necessarily cheaper. You think Toronto's expensive to live in, but it's probably even as expensive here because of our property values, and then gas is more expensive, home renovations, like everything else is more expensive because of that. But when I think of like what's a great place to live, I think it's individual, but it needs a mix of what interests you. So if you're a foodie, it needs good restaurants. If you're someone who loves arts and culture, it needs a mix of that. If you're someone who wants to be outdoors, like another reason I like living in Durham region, it has 4 ski hills, and I love to ski. So in the winter, that's really important to me. No other region has 4 ski hills in it, unless you're Ottawa or in Montreal or Quebec. So for me, this is what's important to me. And I guess those, if like you can do research, like the region of Durham has research of like what are the assets of Durham region, right? We're also getting a spa, so we're getting a Le Nordic spa, which is the pools and so that's another region to be in Durham. We have treetop trekking and and because we have the lake, we have lots of marinas and so lots of water sports as well. So to me, I think it's an individual choice to some degree.
Absolutely, and the economic development that your centre is supporting enables a lot of these good things to happen,
Yes,
and
yes.
of which there are many in Durham. There are a lot of good reasons to live there.
Sure. Like most regions, I guess. And so when you say like what's our part in economic development, our part is really to support the local businesses, right? Like when we think of economic development and when you think of economics and money, right? And large corporations against small businesses, it's the small businesses where that money stays in the community, right? That money, if you spend money with a local business, that money goes to paying for their school kids, putting them in classes, going to a local restaurant, supporting local businesses. So it's a statistic that's known. I can't say where to quote it from originally, but the statistic is around if you support a local business, 80% of that money stays in the local community. Where if you support a large multinational corporation, it stands to reason that most of the money will leave the area of where that dollar went in because it goes back to the shareholders and back to the corporation, right? Now, not to bash on large corporations because many of them do lots in their local community. They donate money, they sponsor, they provide employment. I think you need a mix of both. But I guess as you as the consumer has the ultimate power as to like where you decide to invest your dollars, right? So think about where you invest it. If you've got dollars to spend and you know that 80% stays in it if you're buying from a local business and 80% leaves if you're buying from a multinational, that's your decision to make at the end of the day. And, sadly, during the whole COVID time, that's been a real issue for small business because they were not ready to be accepting, like they were not ready to work the same way that Amazon does. By no means can we all compete with Amazon, but we can be like Amazon. We can have some of their practices that makes it easy for our customers to buy and removes the friction, right? And I think some small businesses don't think enough about the customer journey and removing the friction that customers have to get their purchases. And if I can ask my small businesses to do anything, is like really think about what's that journey, maybe interview some of your customers. Why is it so difficult? Make it easy for them to buy. And that's what Amazon really has done. It's made it easy to buy and easy to return. And like if we can have those practices as small businesses, there's no doubt that we'll be so successful.
Absolutely. And you've been there since, or at the advisory centre since 2012. What changes have you seen in the Durham community over that period?
So lots of different changes. I will say, like in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, there's been a lot more organizations come in. So a lot accelerators, incubators, youth entrepreneurship organizations. So we've had a lot more support start. Like I was the only game in town for 12 years and there was nobody else. So now we have a Spark Center. We have other organizations. So we have 1855 Whitby, which is an accelerator, and we have Fast Start, which is a college incubator, and we have Brilliant Catalyst, which is our university, Ontario Tech University's incubator. So these organizations have all come up. So our entrepreneurship ecosystem is starting to mature. So Durham has been very nascent in entrepreneurship, very small businesses. So now we're starting to build, like Waterloo is 20 years ahead of us, right? And the Waterloo University is where it all sprung out of. It's 20 years ahead of like what we have and what you have with Communitech and the relationships you have with the large multinationals like Google and Desire to Learn and all that sort of stuff. So we're just starting to build that. So that's one of the biggest changes. The other changes is the change in the business landscape. So the businesses are changing as well. There's a lot more franchises, a lot more food-based businesses. So as our community grows, our population's growing. When I moved here, we were maybe 500,000. Well, we're almost close to 800,000 now. We're projected to be over 1 million like in the next few years. So the population is growing. So that's changing the business mix. It's what's changing is where the people that are coming here are asking for different services and looking for different products. And that's changing what the businesses do. Of course, with the pandemic, but even before, lots more online businesses, lots more the knowledge economy, business coaches, people doing online businesses. So a lot of that is changing. And I think that provides a lot of opportunity, right? So now you may be local, but your market can be global. And I guess that's a great opportunity for small business and for our economy out here too, right? And so I've seen that change. And like I mentioned before, I've said this a few times, of just getting different restaurants and different types of businesses coming out here. Like we're getting more, like people are, our society is becoming more affluent. People they will have someone to clean their dog poop and someone to do their grass and someone to clean their house. And like before, we would have done those things ourselves. So I guess as they become more and more affluent, they're buying more services, which creates more demand for service. So I would say service businesses have also grown. So manufacturers are a small part of our business. Service businesses, personal service businesses also grow.
And you're describing, as part of your description of the way the economy is changing, you've talked about the role that the increasing role of technology,
Yeah.
and the impact that's having on people's lives there. But also, as part of that, the support that is provided for technology-based businesses and for technology entrepreneurs. And really, I think, suggesting that is increasingly important to economic development in your community, but also in communities more broadly. This entrepreneurship has a bigger role, and especially technology-based entrepreneurship seem to have a bigger role.
They do. And I guess pretty soon the divide between those that are non-tech and tech is going to go away because every business is a technology today. Like, I don't know about your organization, but like BACD, we must have 40 different pieces of software under the hood that we are all integrating and working and trying to work, right? All the different apps that we have to use to make our workflow processes work. So I am not alone. Lots of small businesses have to do the same. Like, it's great when there's one or two people in the business. As soon as you get to 3 or 4, well, you've got to start changing your systems and your processes and making your workflow more efficient and less hands in it, right? So I guess that is what technology is enabling for a lot of businesses. It enables $1 million business for one person sometimes, because if you can use technology to take care of a whole bunch of steps that would have all been manual before, you're able to scale your business. And I think, most businesses can scale, and you need to be able to scale your business. Just if you're a one-person business, for your own sanity, your own health, mental health, your own ability to live. But if you want to have something bigger than that, when you can scale your business, you scale your money, you scale your impact, you scale what you can do for the community, right?
Yeah, and that movement towards increased use of technology and it playing an increasing role in organizations implies that skills are changing too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you talk about that in Durham, how changing
Yes.
skill needs are impacting both companies and employees?
I will. So when I first came to BACD in 2012, we had just gone through a whole bunch of layoffs in a lot of the manufacturing plants around it because of General Motors. And so a lot of those people wanted to start their own businesses. But at the time that they were coming out, they did not have digital skills. Like, it was a huge mountain for them to start doing anything digitally, to think about having their own website and managing it themselves, to think about, I need to post on social media. How do I do that? And today there's a huge shift. Like, literally everything is digital now. So everybody needs to know how to use Canva and make their own graphics and get online. And what does online mean, right? The traditional media stream is like dead to some degree. I think it will come back. Just right now during this pandemic, it was like non-existent, right? So what I've seen in the skills changing is that more and more people are more digitally savvy. And I guess that's what you need to be. You can't be afraid. What's also happened is the technology has become so complicated. So, 9 years ago, Facebook was a lot more simple than it is to get today. 9 years ago, you could be on 7 platforms and you could have a presence on all of them, and great. Today, you can't be on 9 platforms and do it well. You've got to choose which platforms you're going to be on. If your customers are on Instagram, be on Instagram. If they're on TikTok, be on TikTok, right? If they're on YouTube, be on YouTube. And choose and really know what those platforms are about. So each one of those platforms is a business strategy unto itself, which has made business a lot more complex, right? The whole digital piece has made it very complex for small businesses because they want to have a presence everywhere, I guess. And I don't think you can do them all really well unless you've got a lot of people doing it for you. I mean, I even went into, BACD has its own podcast, and I started it 2 years ago, and I'm kind of tired of doing it. It's not easy to come up with the content. I'm not sure it has value. One of my questions for myself on our social media all the time is like, if our businesses are so busy doing their own social media and trying to get their own businesses going, are they paying attention to ours? So we don't have to be there to that huge degree, but we do need to have a presence that if people are searching for us, they find us. And I guess that's what it comes to, is that you need a digital presence so that when people pop it into Google, they don't just see it in one place. They don't just see one review. They don't just see, oh, that website hasn't been updated in 2 years, right? You need to show that it's like up to date. And the people that are watching this, I don't need to tell them that because they already know. They go and read the reviews. They already know exactly what they're looking for when they're looking to find a business, right? And we use Google, we use Facebook, we use Instagram to search for those, So I think that's a lot of what our focus is the digital divide, the digital adoption of new technologies and becoming more savvy on how to do it yourself, right? And then hiring out the pieces that you don't have, outsourcing it. So another thing that's grown is the whole outsourcing economy, right? The gig economy. So there's so many websites like Freelancer and Upwork and Fiverr that so many people who have those digital skills can help people who don't have those skills. And I guess if I had to say anything to our students, and my daughter is a recent student, is like really stay on top of what that is. When you've gone through university, you certainly know how to use all your social platforms, but start to understand what the digital products are that businesses need if you want to be in business. And today, if you have the skill set, because you're a digital native, you grew up with this, you don't know any different, and it's so much easier for you to just adopt new technologies and understand new platforms, and you're not afraid. Like older people or older generations are afraid they're going to break something if they start going down a track, or they're going to post something. And if you don't have that fear, then what an opportunity there. So use your skills to start a little business on yourself. Go and register a profile on Fiverr or Freelancer. And another nice thing about today, if you are interested in entrepreneurship, you can see really what the opportunities are. You can, like, I say this to our businesses all the time. Oh, you want to be in this business? Well, go and follow those people. See what the questions are that they are asking all the time. See what customers are saying about them. Look at the reviews. You're finding gaps and opportunities, from what businesses are not doing.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that helping businesses to become more digital in all sorts of different ways, their social media, but also their own operations more generally, is a lot of part of the focus that you've got just now. And in the area that you feel is very important to businesses strategically at the moment. They need to get digital relatively quickly, and even more quickly because of COVID.
Yes, totally. If you are not digital today, you're going to suffer. I'm sure there are businesses like our hairdressers, spas, like they cannot totally be digital. You cannot cut hair digitally. You can keep your market entertained by saying, I'll teach you how to cut your husband's hair. No, you can keep your name top of mind, but those videos do not generate sales. You can sell products, but again, it's not necessarily going to cover the price of what your services are, right? But you can kind of keep it going. But again, it's like a hairdresser is a local business. They are not cutting hair globally. But even still, their technology needs to be up to date and make it easy for the customer, right? Make it easy to book online today, because that is such a huge issue. So many places you can't book online. Keep your business hours up to date, so that when people go and look, They know if you are open or not, especially again during COVID, like the hours are reduced for a lot of businesses, and they Google my business hasn't changed in 2 years, right? And I guess really stay on top of those kinds of things. And I think this is where our new students and younger business owners can really benefit, right? So a couple of years ago, we did a program in Durham region called Shop Rock, which was around helping businesses transform to a digital presence. And at the time, the statistics for Canada, that was only 62% of businesses are ready to do business online. And that number hasn't grown that much, you know, even we are running the Digital Main Street program, and we're giving the service for free, and the businesses are just like, they could be taking advantage of so many opportunities and they're not. And I get it. To a big degree, there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of like overwhelm. People don't know what to do, and so they don't do anything. There's a lot of that as well. But if you do want to be in your business and move forward, then really try and find a way to make that digital platform work for you.
But there is a lot of support for them, or maybe there isn't, but I believe there is support there for businesses that want to make these changes.
There is.
You're part of that, but the government
We are.
also makes other things available.
We are. And I guess it's reach out, right? Reach out to all kinds of centers in Ontario. Just start asking people that are in the business world. Some people want to help people. So reach out and get the information that you need to do so. And yeah, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to feel so overwhelming. Start with one thing, right? It's like everything starts with the first step. Like just start with something small that you can do and do well for your business, right? And I guess people, we immediately start thinking about that we need to be on 19 platforms when we don't. And so make it easy for yourself. And that's part of what we do, is help business owners just think about the next, you know, what are the decisions? What are the actions I need to take? What are the next 30, 60, 90 days? You know, because many times the success of a business is about what they executed and implemented, not like all these goals, because you can have all these goals, but if you don't execute and implement any of them, then you're not going to meet those goals. So how do we just move you forward in your business? You know, and that's one of the things that we work with, is providing the support and the accountability and the strategic planning, I guess, is, you know, thinking about your business holistically. And a lot of small businesses start out going, I have an idea, and then they build a website and get a logo, right? And I guess there's a lot of work in between those two places that we need to really think about. And many business owners don't even think about, like, what's my vision? Why do I want to do this? Who do I want to do it for? What's the problem that I'm solving? And even though you come to the idea of your business, it's like, I'm really good at doing social media management, great, but turn that around into the problem that you're solving for the customer. And when you can get clear on what that problem solving is that you do, then you uncover a market that really needs you. And I guess that's really the important thing, right? To be in business is to make a profit and to solve problems. People buy from companies because they're solving problems or addressing a need.
How is COVID, I mean, and I guess you've touched on this, on a number of things that you've said, but what do you think I'm trying to get a sense of what the local economy will look like after COVID as compared to before it. There's a lot of businesses that haven't brought in a lot of money for a long time.
Yeah.
There are some businesses that have brought in more money than they would have without COVID. How do you think things will be different when we hopefully get largely beyond it?
Oh, I can't wait, for sure. I think there's going to be a lot of changes. So I even just keep going back to my own consumer behavior and my friends and people that I know, how their behavior has changed during this time. So, and then I think of the businesses, how they've adapted and changed. So I'll give you an interest. One of our businesses is a caterer, and she used to cater all these large corporate events and meetings and all this. That's all gone. So she pivoted her business. So now she delivers those meals, and she delivers them into different people's homes or whatever the case may be. She's moving to single serving. She's now got a relationship with, she also moved more into like specific foods, right? So like specific food markets, like a vegan market or a ketogenic market. And so, and then got a license or a contract with a large, like a metro. And I guess that's how they've been able to pivot that business. So they've kind of pivoted and specialized and can charge premium money for those specializations, right? I guess, and for her business, I don't know whether it'll go. I don't see it going back to the large meetings where everybody gets together. I think there's going to always be the hybrid of like, it's probably going to be virtual. It's so much easier, to be virtual than it is to like have everybody, drive from the whole of wherever into one space. And so I see that as a big change for that business. I also see businesses needing to keep both streams going of revenue. So the in-person stream of revenue and the online stream of revenue. And I guess that's one thing we've been saying to our clients for years, that if you're opening a physical space, make sure you have an omni-channel strategy. You are not just a physical presence, you need to have an online strategy as well, because you need to drive people to the store. The days of people driving around and finding stores are over. They're looking online, they're looking on a phone, they're going on Google, and they're being specific with what they're looking for. So, you've got to have that strategy to be on a couple of different places. So I see that. Like I see local businesses having to be on two platforms before where they weren't. So another client of ours, an escape room. So they might have had those escape rooms, but they also now have to sell games online, and they have to create online experiences and virtual rooms and that sort of stuff. And it'll be interesting to see, because I don't have the answer to that. Like, will they just go straight back to physical, or will people want a mix of both? I don't know if maybe the students can answer some of that. And I don't know where you post this. It would be a really great question to ask them. Like, how has their consumer behavior changed? What would they do differently in the future? Like for me, I probably won't go to a gym again. I like working out of my home. I always had a home gym, but I used to teach yoga in the gym. So now I'm probably just going to teach locally from my basement. And I have everything here. I have YouTube. I don't need to go to a gym. And I support some local businesses by going to their classes as well. But I think it depends to each person. But my husband, he won't want to go to a restaurant and pay $9 for a beer. So that's going to change, and we've been eating at home for 15 months. We're probably going to stay eating at home, and it will become more the treat to go out and spend money at a nice restaurant than it would be like something we did 2-3 times a week.
It's interesting, particularly what you had to say about businesses now having online components that they
Yes.
didn't have before. And people also having online elements in their lives, like, working out at home, rather using online resources of one kind or another.
Yeah.
And what that suggests is that these are things which are going to influence life after COVID. And that there is going to be this increased element of technology in our lives. Yeah. I mean, your answer is very interesting because it provides a practical understanding of that this is real, right? There is a fundamental change in businesses and individuals.
And in consumers, for sure. I mean, I even, like, I do sewing. So I would be going to a physical store where I learned to do sewing classes. We moved that online. So now I would never want to go back to a store. In fact, I want to do it here. I've got my sewing machines. I've got all the tools I need. I have everything that I need with me. And I have the interaction of the class and the teacher. The teacher, unfortunately, has to have like 15 different cameras and all that sort of stuff. But like even the teacher prefers now to do it this way. So I guess there's so many things that are going to be disrupted that way, right? And it's great in some ways, and it's going to be difficult in other ways. Like just like the Industrial Revolution, the dot-com burst, like all the things we've been through has made huge disruptions over the years. And I guess this is going to be a massive disruption to how we work and to where we go. And I mean, the students here, you might not end up at one corporation or one business for the rest of your life. And I bet you would say I wouldn't want to. Well, our generations and below wanted to stay with one company forever. I mean, I personally never want to stay at one. I've been at BACD 9 years. It's the longest I've ever been at any company in my entire life. And it's because I work with entrepreneurs. It's because we make so much change, and there's so much change happening. It's interesting. But today, there's very few people that don't have a side hustle or something going on the side, or something that they're trying to generate money from, or something that they're passionate about, right? And I guess look at it at those opportunities. It's so much easier today to make money from multiple places than just one place, you know. And I think that makes your life as a person more fulfilling, and you get a chance to be more creative. And you know, you don't have to follow the track of what everybody else said you have to do, or what your cultural norms are as to like what you have to be in. And I think of my daughter that way. She was like, I want to be a lawyer. So she went and did legal studies. Halfway through, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. And then she was like, I want to be in the government. And now after the pandemic, I do not want to be in the government, right? But she has spent 4 years doing her undergrad and 2 years doing a master's degree in Australia. And you know, through all of that, she's realized that she doesn't want to be in any of the things that she studied. But she did take communications, she did take marketing, she took digital marketing inside of that. So she's working in a job that's actually working with businesses to help them adopt technology, and you know, and so she's got all those pieces in it. And I think that's important for you, for the students to look at as well, is like really think about, you don't have to go down this track, right? And I think it's hard in some ways, even for students at the age of 16, to have to decide what they want to do for the rest of their life. That's not possible. I had no clue, and still to this degree time had no idea I'd end up where I am today. And who knows if that's the rest of my career life. It might not be, right? And I think be open to change. And if I could say, what are the things you really need to work on as a student when it comes to skills, is like work on yourself, your own leadership development, being the leader of you, and knowing that you're the captain of your ship. You decide what your reality in your life is based on what you think. And we don't spend enough time actually through all the schooling that we go through helping students and people understand what the strength and everything is, how you behave in the world, right? And how you think about yourself. And so spend your time, when you believe in yourself, anything can be achieved. And I try and say that to businesses as well. Businesses fail because of what's between their heads, what's between their ears. It's what they tell themselves. You know, oh, this is hard, this is difficult, I'm lonely, I can't make sales, I'm no good at sales. You know, this part's hard, that part's hard. It's like, what's the tape that's playing in our heads? And I guess, you know, spend your time developing who you are as a person, and your skill set, and your digital skills will help. But like, it's people skills, and I think those are the important skills to get you through the world, right? If you look at people that are wealthy today and successful entrepreneurs, it's many times what they think about themselves and how they envision their life to be, more so than anything else.
A good foundation, and good human skills, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, advice we give at Waterloo a lot, and this helps to strengthen it. That's
Yeah.
this is good. Okay, so I did also want to ask you about the impact of people moving out of Toronto, particularly, but also possibly from elsewhere, and moving to Durham. And that's been happening for a number of years, particularly as house prices have risen in Toronto. But it also seemed to happen perhaps more during COVID, as people were thinking they were going to work more remotely, and also, you know, for whatever other reasons they might have had. So can you talk about that in relation to Durham?
Sure. As I mentioned right at the beginning, Durham region is like the last place to grow, like the last place to fill up in the GTA, right? So you go and do an analysis of the GTA, it's, I say, plugged full of people, right? And Durham region is, lots of land is still available. House prices are good. So a lot of people are moving here because they can get more. If jobs become more remote, then they don't need to live in those places for those commuting patterns that they have to go through. And I guess only time will tell how that's going to shake out, because I can't see large organizations that have huge real estate leases for 50 years or 20 years saying goodbye lease, and everybody work from home. So I think there's going to be, you know, like the hybrid model between being in person and being at home. I don't know. I actually don't know. Like, I see people, if you look, there was some studies from Brookfield Properties, you know, we'll all be returning to the office kind of thing. Well, they would need to say that. They have millions, billions of dollars in real estate investment, right? So I think you need to read those studies, and so read some opposition studies, read WeWork studies about, you know, patterns of work as well. So, I see a mix of both. I mean, I look at BACD, we're certainly considering not renewing our lease in a couple of years and moving to kind of like a hybrid home-based model, and then using the assets of the towns and the cities around us to deliver workshops and to deliver service if we need, because that actually helps us more, because being in one physical space makes everybody have to come to us. So now if we can be decentralized, we can actually go and deliver service in all those locations. And I think that is important, is to be able to provide that. Now, for the short term, it's not going to be service in person either. It's going to be online at this time, until people feel comfortable. And we don't know what a short term is. So could that be this September? Could that be next year? I already know from our industry or our network, we are not thinking of having any in-person events until at least 2022. I know that our region is not going back in until 2022. There will be no personal. Municipalities, the regional buildings, they're reworking what they're going to look like. They're making the space more agile. You're not going to have a desk like you used to have. You can choose different things, I guess I heard a thing that middle management wants us all back, because then there's something for them to do. And I that's very glib, but it isn't meant to be. That's like old thinking, like that's what middle management does. Well, they can be redeployed to do different things. Then maybe a lot of their work becomes, how do I foster culture and team cohesiveness in a virtual environment, right? So skill sets are going to have to change. Again, we talked about skill sets. When I look at the buildings and the businesses around here, like everybody is talking about a hybrid model. I just don't think it's necessarily going to be that easy to accomplish when people are like entrenched in leases and furniture and assets, and like it's going to just be easier to go back to what you had. And I look at even my office as we go back. So my office is 7 minutes down the road. Like, what reason would I have to work from home every day? I should be in the office. So like, and that's the same for my whole team. We're in the Durham region. We're close to work. So why would I say work away from home? And is distance the only reason? So there's a lot of different factors. Is it distance? Is it safety? Is it mental health? I think our mental health has suffered. So a lot of people's mental health has suffered during this time. So maybe being together, being in a team environment, we're social creatures, and those are things that need to be taken into account. So I don't think I've really answered your question, because I don't actually know. I'm reading lots of different things. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen after the pandemic. I guess it's kind of like a zombie feeling, like you're not sure, should you be getting out and going back to normal, but not normal, wearing masks, the limits on the businesses, like there's a lot of red tape and limits around the businesses and their operations. Even once we get beyond stage 4, it's still going to be a long time. We could be heading into the 4th wave with this Indian variant that's come out of COVID, right? So we're playing a very delicate balance now. And then after that variant, COVID doesn't just disappear. So once we're all vaccinated, it's we're going to need to continue to be vaccinated, like you do a flu shot. So then there's the whole part of the population that doesn't get vaccinated. So I guess it's not going to go away to some degree. So, to some degree, it's going to make a big fundamental change to human beings and to traffic patterns and to travel patterns and to how we operate. Like, just think even about the travel industry's being decimated through this. And even if we come through the pandemic and we can travel again, is business travel going to travel the way it was? Probably not. There's too many efficiencies. All the conferences I've been able to attend because they're online, fantastic. Like, most of those, I wouldn't be driving down to Toronto, going here, going there to see them. So like, what a great opportunity for me still to attend the conferences. So I think there's going to be winners and losers, as with everything. There's going to be some shedding. There's going to be some opportunities, and I don't know what the changes are going to be. I'm excited because, hey, we're going to learn some new stuff and see some new industries come up. Like we've already, right? Standing desks, ergonomic products, like everything to try and make you sit comfortably because you're sitting all the time. And yeah, so I have a sit stand thing. I do it every day. So I guess, there's some opportunities, as always. We can either choose to look at this like, oh, hell, the world's dying, or wow, what an opportunity. So
I just got 2 more questions, but yes, yeah. I think the future is uncertain at the moment, and you raise uh, a number of questions about that. There are a whole series of areas where that uncertainty exists, and we'll hopefully learn a bit more about it.
Be
Okay,
interesting to see.
my last two questions. I did want to get to innovation. So the extent to which innovation is becoming more important, and how that might be better encouraged, or what might be done to make innovation happen more inside a local economy.
I'd love to answer that question, but I'm just going to look up the definition of innovation because I think that's
Yeah.
important. Everybody seems to think that innovation is just technology, right? We put the word innovation with technology, but innovation is continuing success, continuous improvement, continually thinking differently, thinking creatively. It's a new method, an idea, a product, right? So it's not just technology. I think the best definition is that it's the creation, the development, and the implementation of new products, new processes, and new services.
Yeah, and I think the important thing with innovation is that people realize that it is actually making things happen. It's not just having good ideas; it's making things happen, right?
Right. And so the aim of innovation is to improve efficiency, effectiveness, competitiveness. So I I love innovation because I think of innovation as like a 1% change. If you can make 1% change in your day to day, in your monthly, in your yearly, like if every month you can change something by 1% in your business processes, your life, you try and do a new habit, I think you are creating innovation within you. And if you keep going on like trying to find new patterns of thought, new ways of doing things, new ways of looking at problems. And I think that's innovation. So much of our culture ties innovation to just technology, but I think we are in a huge spurt of innovation right now because we are needing to look at new ways of thinking, new ways of doing, right?
For
and and,
sure.
and ways we were not interested in before, and all of a sudden now we're interested. So to me, I actually love innovation, and I'm always the type like, don't ever tell me that I'm doing it this way because it was done before. I mean, that's how we got round pans and square pans, and like if you look back to old wives' tales of like why is a pan this length? Well, it had to be this length because we had to cut the neck of a chicken or something like that to make it fit, right? And I guess those innovations came up. They were very practical things that they had to do. So I don't have enough examples of that kind of innovation, but that's how those things happen. So I think of new ways. I always like do a debrief. It's not looking at the negative; it's looking at the opportunity. Look at like, okay, that was great. What could we do to improve it? Should it be improved? Was it great the way it was? Do you think we could have done this? Could we have done that? I think it's questioning and looking at um, where the opportunities could lie to be better. And as a culture, I think we really need to think about how we continue to innovate, to create products and services, and to create intellectual property and to be innovative, right?
I just got one last
Yes.
question, which is for the people watching this. I like to conclude on this question. Just they're going to be going off to work. Some of them might be going to do other things. And based on your experience, what advice would you like to leave them with?
And I mentioned that earlier. The advice I want to leave you with is you're the captain of your own ship. You the master of your destiny. You get to decide every day. So make a choice and make a good choice. You get to decide. You get to listen to the story you tell yourself as well. So change your story to be something that you're excited about and inspired about, and that drives you every day to enjoy your life. And I'm not like, you don't need to be driven hustle and grind. I do not believe in hustle and grind. I believe in like you be the best that you want to be every day for you. And if this is good enough, then be happy with that, right? I guess change the story you're telling yourself really is like we are beyond powerful as human beings. We can achieve so much. There's miracles everywhere. And, just be that master of your own destiny and don't conform to what the cultural norms tell you have to be and that you have to do. You know, our lives are short. and like make it enjoyable for yourself. Make it what you can do. Make it.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
You provided a lot of insights that I think are going to be valuable for the students. So I really appreciate you talking to
Thank
me.
you. Thank you. It was lovely, and I wish your students who get to watch this like every success that they deserve in their lives.